I think what's hard is I'm so tired.
And happy Tuesday, turkeys.
Happy Turkey Tuesdays.
Oh, that sounds way better.
Okay, I couldn't tell.
Some week I'm going to come on here with like a turkey sandwich.
Oh, you should.
No, but then you'd have to hear me eat.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
And the listeners don't even know about the chewing yet.
Yeah, that needs to... We do need to talk about that because that's a big problem in my life.
I know. We should conduct an experiment and see if you unplug your headphones so that you can't hear me, is just visually watching someone eat annoying, or is it mainly the sound?
If we were doing this like video, it wouldn't be enough to bother me without the sound. But if someone, like I've watched some videos on mute where someone's chewing their gum, so like they're opening their mouth, like smacking their gum, and even though I can't hear it, knowing what it probably sounds like gives me irky jerkies in my stomach, like I can't. So it depends how bad it is. This is a real thing, everyone. It's called misophonia. Look it up. No, just kidding. We will go in depth on that one day because that is a big part of my life struggle.
We'll get right back on topic after this, but I will be curious if having kids will be like a form of exposure therapy.
I know. I'm a little worried about that, but thankfully both of us chew with our mouths closed and have good manners. So we're just going to hope that our kids pick up on those good habits early and we don't have to deal with too much smacking because I can't do anything about that.
I know.
Too much,
I think that it won't annoy you if it's them.
I know, like when I watch Bentley chomp on his food and chomp on ice, he's like, sorry for anyone else who has misophonia. That's kind of cute for some reason, but when it's humans, it's different. Or maybe my kids will be different too. I don't know.
I think they'll be cute up until they're old enough to learn how to chew with their mouth closed.
Yeah, agreed. And at that point, it's like, okay, we got to teach you to keep your mouth closed, buddy.
But I also feel like the noise level is going to get to a point, like you're going to get used to ambient noise in a different way than you are now, and maybe your tolerance will go up.
I hope so.
I have faith in you. I just remember the first time I went to one of my friends' homes that had 3 kids of like multi-age stages. So like toddler, I don't know, little kid and like medium kid.
Mm-hmm.
She was just chit-chatting, walking around like nothing was happening. And I was looking around and just so overstimulated by the noise. And it was like white noise. I mean, didn't even notice it. And I was just sitting there kind of not annoyed, but just having this whole moment to myself about like, this is why it's hard for parents when they're empty nesters because of the quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think after a pause, they get used to it and then they go back to that again.
Yeah. It's like it sounds very chaotic to people on the outside, but when you're used to it and that's what your family dynamic is, it's almost weird when it's not super loud. Then it's like someone's getting in trouble or someone got hurt. Yeah. Or they're being naughty or they escaped or something weird is happening.
Anyway, all of that was to say I have faith in you. I'm not doubting you. I'm curious to observe the change.
I will definitely keep you posted because I'm curious myself.
It will be so interesting. You're going to be so excited when you feed your baby like real food for the first time and they're like,
yeah.
Like smacking smush peas out of their mouth or something. Okay.
Oh
all right. Let's introduce the viewers / listeners to another Kayla theory.
Oh yeah. I've got theories for days, people.
We're going to work them in regularly. This is the platform you've always needed for your theories.
Why do I just overthink everything or am I just like a borderline? I don't know. Either way, I've got a good one this week and we've touched on this, but it's about periods. Oh, go ahead.
Can I weigh in?
Yes.
I don't think you overthink. I think that you just have an active mind and you're curious. continue.
That's true. And I really like to learn. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I needed that validation. Okay, no. As a woman, yes, Kaylee.
I'm so sorry. I'm
For
working
anyone, she's putting her hand up like she's back in school.
I'm trying to work on my interruption, but I didn't want to lose my thought of I'm being a validation whore today at work, and I kept asking for validation from my coworkers, so I'm trying to make a point to give it to other people. Resume.
Thank you. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about womanhood and bathrooms and down there areas, whatever. So to continue on that path real quick, and then to the men, we will move on. But I have a theory about periods and our cramps and our symptoms in our periods. I'm obviously not getting my period right now because I am pregnant, but it was not that long ago, and I remember, for me personally, and I'm curious if any of the listeners also have this, every other month, my symptoms and my cramps specifically feel not so bad and pretty bad. Every other month. It pretty much always goes back and forth. So one month I'll get my period. I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad. A little bit of light cramping the first day, and then I kind of just resume on to my normal life. But then the next month, I have pretty bad cramps. It's like, ooh, I can feel these first 2 days. I have to take ibuprofen. So my theory is, and this is totally pulling out of my ass, but it kind of makes sense, potentially. I feel like depending on which side the egg is coming out of the ovary, it may or may not cause a little more turbulence on the way down for that month. And I get that the egg is released at ovulation, which is 2 weeks before your period. I'm not personally someone who gets ovulation pain, but I know some people do. But I'd love for you to weigh in. But I feel like, for me at least, 1 month, say my egg's coming from my left side, that period tends to be worse than when the next month the egg potentially comes down from my right ovary, and then it's not as bad. Does that make any sense?
Well, okay, so it makes sense. Here, my first thought when you say this is I wonder if that could be caused from like a small cyst forming, like in the follicle during ovulation on a particular side.
Right.
Because I think that's what that like. Do you know what? I can't remember the PCOS.
Yeah.
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Uh-huh.
Fuck yeah.
Good job.
I think that some people can have, and again, I don't have it, so I don't know, but I thought that it doesn't necessarily affect both ovaries.
Interesting.
So I also wonder if there's anything with that could cause issues.
And maybe it's not causing issues during ovulation, but to get discharged out, it is having to do a little more work, you're saying, kind of?
Well, I thought that with PCOS, like cysts form during the time of when you're ovulating and then they burst. And I thought that happened like around the time of your period. And I thought that people with PCOS had really awful periods.
I think that's one of the symptoms.
But I could also be confusing this with endometriosis, but I don't think I am. Anyway, that was my initial thought. Like maybe there's just something happening on one side that's angry and more inflamed as you like move, like after it drops the egg. Like maybe the follicle that formed that is pissy, which would time up with your period.
Yeah.
Because now that I am not using a hormonal birth control and I'm going back to reset, I think I'm on month 5 or 4, which probably means I'm on like cycle 10 because of how short my cycles are. But I think I've been noticing every other month is satanic.
I'm sorry. It was just the way you described it. I didn't mean to laugh that loud. I didn't even laugh that loud. I just made a face.
And you mentioned this and I was like, damn, I just kind of started paying attention, and I've been tracking things just to see, because there's nothing worse than going to your physician saying that like I have a problem, and then they say, what's the problem? And then you can't describe it. So I'm trying to be a good patient and gather like 6 to 8 months of data before I go back into my appointment and just say, here's what I'm noticing. But I get ovulation pain, I'm noticing, and the month, so this will be the test month or the test cycle, because this round of ovulating was as bad as last month's period cramps, if not
Whoa.
worse. Like, they were wretched, like kept me up. I couldn't sleep one night. So that was just ovulating.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going on the every other, this should be a shitty period, because last month was so easy and I was like, no problems. Like, every time this happens, I think things are going to be better, and then it's ruined the next cycle.
Question, did you have this kind of, were you paying attention, or did you notice you had this when you were on hormonal birth control?
I think I was getting some ovulation pain when I was on my IUD, because you still ovulate regularly. I mean, I'm sure there's some effect because of the hormone that's in your system, but you still ovulate and all of your stuff still cycles, versus like the pill, which prevents ovulation.
That's what I was going to say, because when I was on the pill, I didn't seem to have the back and forth. But now that I'm realizing that I actually wasn't ovulating, it was just basically shutting my system down and making my brain think that I was pregnant, which I could go down a whole rabbit hole. But regardless, once I got off of that, I was like, oh, this is like what a normal cycle feels like. I'm actually ovulating. This is an actual period, not just I think they call it a discharge. No, it's not discharge. It's not the right word. But you're basically shedding is what period is when you're on the pill. So it's just very fascinating. So it probably goes back to the ovulation piece.
So it just seems like something's tied in, but we'll find out, because if the what's it called? If ovulation was demonic this month, I should be in for just a hellacious period, and that I'm due for. Woof, too soon.
You'll have to keep us updated. I'm so curious.
I know.
You need to make a chart like ovulation bad, period bad. Ovulation good, period good. Or is it the opposite, or like what is it?
I track with the app and then like make extra notes.
Cool. Okay.
With Stardust, we've already mentioned them.
Shout out Stardust.
Shout out BFFs. Anyway, any more to your theory?
Not really, besides I just feel in my soul. I know everyone's different. Everyone's body's different. You don't have to drop eggs each side, but we do have two sides, and they're coming from both sides. So I just thought every other, which makes sense because every other time I'm having worse periods. So is there something to do with the side it's dropping from? I don't know. That's my theory. No scientific evidence, but theory.
Anecdotal evidence is still evidence.
That's true. Thank you. Validation again.
Yes. I keep thinking that your microphone is an octopus designed on your shirt, and I love anything with an octopus design.
I don't know what that was.
It was a good one. I thought that it was an octopus at least 3 times now, and then 3 times remembered it was a microphone.
Oh my gosh.
I'm obviously doing a really good job of active listening.
If anyone is watching and my body position is weird or changes quite often, it's because I'm 7 months pregnant. So here we are. I'm like leaning on my hand right now.
I wish we could set up your bouncy ball in there.
I could, but then I'd just be going like this the whole time.
I mean, if that's what you need to do next week, you can try it out. We'll just warn people if they're motion sick to listen only. Anyway, if anyone's listening that has like actual medical expertise, and you could tell us if this every other theory sounds at all factual /
just ridiculous,
what might be causing this,
yeah,
I'd love to know.
Please do share.
Maybe I can try to tag Dr. Drew and have him answer our question.
We need to tag Dr. Jolene Brighton. Shout out to Dr. Jolene Brighton. If anyone is considering going off the pill or just has questions about birth control, highly recommend her book. Can't remember the name.
Oh, is this
Beyond
the one
the
where
Pill?
There's a flower on the front?
No, it's Beyond the Pill by Dr. Jolene Brighton. It doesn't have a flower on the front, but it's such a good book. So if you're listening, I feel like she would know.
What the 5th vital sign?
Yes, that's another great one. That's a
Is that
great one.
her?
No, that's someone different.
Oh, sorry, author of the fifth vital sign.
Oh!
Kayla just jangled her mic a little bit. We're still getting used to our
I moved the octopus.
y'all these setups. I think I've posted one photo before on Instagram and social medias, but our like quote unquote desk setup right now is ridiculous while we try to like figure out what we're doing with our home studios. But we are making it work.
Hey, progress. Shout out to Lisa Hendrickson Jack. She is the author of The Fifth Vital Sign. I think she also has a podcast.
I think she does, because I think she does Fertility Fridays. Watch, that's probably somebody else.
No, I think that's exactly what her podcast is called. Okay, you guys are getting free shout outs. Shout out to Fertility Fridays.
I think that's her Instagram too.
Yep, that's her podcast and Instagram. Look at us.
We can remember stuff. An unrelated shout out to Chicken Legs for making the best shorts. I wore them today specifically to show the viewers.
Oh, God.
For those of you listening, they're the best running shorts in the world. They're so comfortable. I'll never buy any other shorts to work out in. They have a liner. They're really lightweight, and they have hilarious things on them. The ones I'm wearing today, first of all, they say chicken legs. My legs are the opposite of a chicken, but I don't care. And these are purple, and they have cows and chocolate milk. They're brown cows because they're chocolate milk cows.
Oh, my God. Show the viewers. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. I love that. Those are, how do you run in those? Those are short. They do feel nice. I hear the stretchiness of them.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, I'm out of breath. They are very stretchy and really light. I could probably get them one size bigger, but I don't want to.
Don't do it.
And they're stretchy. So like what we were talking about, stuff feeling right.
Mm-hmm.
Normally the seams on running shorts, so even if the material is stretchy, the seam is still fixed because the thread isn't stretchy.
Yes.
Not on these.
Ah, that makes
so
a difference.
I can sit like a frog and everything stretches in equal measure. Look, it looks like I have armpit hair, but it's really just my head hair hanging down behind my armpit. Sorry guys. Everything stretches in equal measure, so you don't get like constriction anywhere, and the waistband on them is really soft and really stretchy, and the liner is not like bulky or hard.
That sounds amazing.
My AirPod just fell out. Anyway,
that sounds comfortable.
They're fantastic, and they're only like $35 or something.
And what's the brand called?
Right? Chicken Legs.
Oh.
They sell them at our local running store. # Fleet Feet, which is a franchise, but the one here is locally owned.
I love Fleet. Because, wait.
Other way.
Fleet Feet.
There you go.
I'm thinking of Fleet Farm. Okay, sorry. No, not shouting.
The first one we ever went to was in Austin.
You guys went to the
I bought these shorts in Austin.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I bought them when we were there for your wedding.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, I go there because they do like your foot measurements and like all these things to get you the right fitting shoes for your foot, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, if you want some, there you go. If anyone listening wants some good workout shorts, or honestly just like bopping around town shorts, they're the best. And I went to a store recently and saw some of the other shall not be named name brand shorts, and those motherfuckers were like $75, and it's about as much material as like my goddamn underwear. I'm not paying you $75 fucking dollars for that shit just to sweat in it and maybe pee a little if I sneeze. Fuck you.
Yeah, not worth it. Good to know.
Anyway, these are the other ones I have are hot pink. Oh man, I forget what's on donuts. They have sprinkle donuts on them.
That's perfect. I love that. The Homer Simpson donut, pink.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Okay. But as per usual, I have questions for the week. I have a building on, if you will, of a previous question of why am I like this? And I have multiple examples.
I love these.
My first one starts off with actually interrupting people, which I just told you all I was working on by raising my hand. You know what else I realized that I do?
What?
I interrupt myself.
I was also trying not to interrupt, so I just waited for you to say something. You interrupt yourself?
I've started listening back to some of these episodes now that I'm trying to help edit. And I get so excited with a sentence that I'm saying, and it makes me think of something else halfway through the sentence. So I interrupt myself, inject some other thing, and then go back, which makes it next to impossible to like snip sound bites to put on social media because they're so chaotic.
I have noticed that it's like there's not one point because it jumps. There's like a point inside the point that you're making. Hey, that's just how your brain works.
It does, but I was like, bitch, you are gonna need to take some breaths and calm down and recognize that those people viewing and listening haven't known you your whole life and aren't used to this style of speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I feel like it's chaotic sometimes for other people. Everyone's got their weird tendencies. I have never noticed you interrupting yourself.
You
I
will
like it
now.
because it, yeah, I know. Because I feel like my brain goes like all over in different directions, but I just can't think fast enough to get it out. So instead of you making a point within your point, I can barely get one point out because I'm like all over my brain. So same problem, different side effects.
Oh my God. Anyway, that's been entertaining to listen back because I want this to be follow alongable. Some of this is family culture too. My family, I've been told that we talk really fast and we interrupt each other a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's bothered. Like we just keep talking over each other and it gets louder and louder.
Yeah, I do think it has something to do with family culture and dynamic and how you talk to other people. And yeah, it makes a big difference.
I know, because Jason's family, they're not interrupters. And that was a big thing. I think it used to, he may have said that at some point, like just asked me to not interrupt him if he was trying to make a point, if we were having an actual conversation about something we needed to resolve.
Yeah.
And I was like, my initial gut reaction was like, I don't interrupt. Like, and then when I took a deep breath, I thought to myself, yeah, I do. And then when I started to consciously not interrupt him, it was so hard.
I know.
Because sometimes I'm just so excited. Even if it's not, when it's like an argument or a disagreement, I think it's so important because you really want the other person to get to finish their sentence so that they can hear you, like couples therapy 101.
Mm-hmm.
And then reflect back what they say. And am I understanding right? Just some of those healthy communication patterns. It was very eye-opening, though, when I started tracking it. But like when you and I talk on the phone, we interrupt each other all the time because we either
Mm-hmm.
are so excited we don't want to forget.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly we just don't want to forget. And then the times that we are polite, we're like, oh, I have to say something. And then we double back on it and we've forgotten.
Yep. But that's not, I mean, we can do that, but for the listeners, we're doing better. I am also trying to not interrupt or say like so much, but that's still a work in progress. I think that'll always be a work in progress. So sorry.
I know. I'm not like taking a giant shit on what we're doing, but it's
Oh no.
interesting when you see yourself reflected back. And I have made a whole purpose in my life. I'm not a selfie taker. I've not really posted much on social media before we started doing this. And so it's like a lot to absorb.
Oh yeah. It's funny to watch, like when we talk, it's one thing, but when we're on the video, and I know most of you guys are just listening to this in your ear holes, which is totally fine. That's kind of how I am. But if you are watching, I am hyper aware of like my movements and my, all the things. It's like, is this what I look like in real life when I'm talking? So.
I know. I'm constantly like, stop making a double chin.
Oh God, that noise.
Oh my God.
Too funny.
All right, so continuing down my thread of why am I like this? I have known this about myself for a while, but it's really been coming clear lately, and I've sort of honed it down to a personality trait that I love to bother people.
And I can see that, but explain.
I know I'm curious as I say this if you've noticed it or if I'm making all of this up in my head. So I have realized I find it absolutely delightful to freak people out or to just sort of like nudge them in a way that makes them slightly uncomfortable. Um,
That yeah, that's exactly what I was picturing when you first said it because it just reminds me of our conversation when you were wearing like the bird shirt just to socially like push the buttons a little bit. Yeah.
and a lot of times it's just stuff that's innocuous. Um, I think later we'll end up having bigger conversations about just having opinions or having questions on more serious topics. And this is definitely something that does carry across the board with me. I just always have liked to sort of poke and prod at what people say their beliefs are because I just don't ever think anything's black and white. And I think our ability to be good humans means that we can be empathetic and look at things from other points of view and to have an actual opinion means that you've considered other options and that you're able to consider other options.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I do this like in some semi-serious circles too, but on the fun side that gives me the delight. Anytime I can like poke at a social norm or like offend somebody's senses of what they think should be happening in a public location, I live for it. And this, I have a good example. So, well, some like offshoot examples would be I have always loved getting like thrift store clothes because I'm cheap, but like I'll buy stuff from Goodwill all the time for work and things like that because I just don't. They don't look shitty. I just don't want to spend a lot of money on clothes when I'm at a job where I'm not really trying to wear stuff that's form fitting. Like it's not shit that I'm gonna wear. Excuse me, wear out for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to spend a bunch of money on it. So a while back, I went and got like several dresses from Goodwill for like $10 each that I just wear as work dresses. And so anytime anybody is like, oh, that's really cute, I'm like, I got it from Goodwill. I am obsessed with sharing things with people that should be expensive. By the same token, there's a clutch that I use a lot when we go out, and people have told me they've liked it before, and it's a free makeup bag that I got from Sephora.
I love that.
Right? Or I have a tank top. I have what used to be a long tank top that I bought from Forever 21 in high school on clearance for $2 that I now wear as a slutty dress. And people have said like, or even Jason was like, or like you look nice. I'm like, thanks. It was $2.
Oh my God, I love that.
I just think it's so
So
fun.
it's interesting that you say these things because you kind of like to push the buttons and not make people uncomfortable, but just be like, haha, JK, you think this is nice, but it's from Goodwill, actually. Like, it's kind of like one of those things. I have, and you just made me think of this. I do the same thing sometimes, but I think it's come up from a place where I always feel like I have to downplay myself. It's like probably not, I'm not doing it like to be funny. I'm like, because like I have these really cute earrings. They're rose gold. They have lots of diamonds in them. They look really cute. Like they're really cute. And I get compliments on them all the time. And instead of just being like, oh, thank you so much, I appreciate it, I'm like, oh, thanks, they're just from Kohl's, which it's true. Like that's where I got them from. But I don't know why I do that. Like I always play it down. I just get like so awkward. I'm like, eh. I do that with a lot of stuff. I don't know. It's just nah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying similar things, but like for a different reason. I don't know why I get so uncomfortable.
Does the compliment make you uncomfortable? Or is it the potential that you have money or spent money?
I think probably both.
That's fair. I
It's
mean,
probably half and half.
Midwestern culture is very anti-showy.
Yeah, yeah, we never grew up like that. Like, we grew up in a very humble middle class home, and it feels weird, even though they literally are from Kohl's. And like I have a really nice other earrings too, and they were like, I was like, oh yeah, my fiance bought them for me when we were fiance. Now he's my husband, obviously, but um, they're like, oh my god, that's so nice. I think I was telling you guys this at the bachelorette
Oh
party.
yeah, your amazing markdown deal on your earrings. But that's a good
Yeah,
story. Like that's a good
I know it is a
find.
good
That's
story.
like a
Like
brag on a good find.
I know that's so true. For the listeners, I have these really cute earrings that Kenny bought me, and the label said like $80 or something ridiculous, and he's like, no, it's he knew I really wanted them, so bless his soul for he was willing to spend $80. But she was like, oh yeah, they're on discount for like the holidays, and they were like $10 or something like that. I should have bought like 10 of them, but sorry, I went down a rabbit hole there, but it just made me think how I react to compliments and certain things.
Some of this could be me reacting to a compliment. It could be
Yeah.
both. I mean, but I know I for sure love to freak people out with stuff like that. I have like an old dress that I got from Target forever ago that I get compliments on a lot. And I'm like, oh, thanks, I got it for Target on sale, $20. And Jason always laughs at me. I'm so glad he's not embarrassed by it, because some
Yeah.
people definitely might be. I'm trying to think of another. Oh, there was another example. I was at work and I was in line, and one of the people there it was like an older gentleman man, and I was like, oh, go, something, go ahead. Anyway, the cashier wasn't there to check us out. And he's like, well, if they're not here, I guess we just get it for free. And I'm like, well, you can probably get away with that, but I can't. Like, as an employee, I'm not going to
Yeah.
steal shit at work. Probably won't get away with
Yeah.
it. That's all I meant it as. He's like, oh, you women get away with whatever you want. I dead ass stopped what I was doing, totally blanked my face, and just stared at him and waited for him to change his decision about what came out of his mouth. My coworker got so uncomfortable that she laughed. Like she couldn't, she had to break the tension.
Oh my
And then we
gosh.
walked out of there, and she's like, I could feel the heat coming off of you,
Mm-hmm,
and you didn't
mm-hmm.
even say anything. And I have to wear a mask at work.
You were
So
wearing a mask too?
yeah, it was just this much of
Oh
my
wow.
eyes. But I've acquired an ability, and a lot of this is from my old job, to just get quiet and
Mm-hmm,
tolerate the tension. And that's part of it too,
mm-hmm.
is I love the tension that some of those things create. And as women, a lot of times we just are conditioned socially to like giggle or laugh or haha, I'm kidding, or whatever, to break the tension. And leaning into it is so satisfying to me. And I could never be accused of saying anything rude. I didn't make a face at him. I just blanked mine. And I didn't say
Mm-hmm.
anything inappropriate. And he, even with my coworker laughing, he still dialed it back a couple times. I was just like,
Wow. I love that. I also do that at work specifically. And Kenny and I do the same job. And he's the nicer one in the family. Like he's way nicer than I am. You know this. Even though I'm very nice. But there's a line, and then once you cross it, it's over from there. But I do that at work when people get really heated because we're basically like the punching bags for everything. And I will just sit there like, I love that you do that because I do the same thing, and I just let them sit in it after I've told them no 100 times because I can't solve the problem. And I just kind of love relishing in that and just waiting for them to kind of back down because it's like, well, what else can you do? And also, stop yelling at me. It's not my fault.
I know. I think it's a really good way to correct bad behavior. You
Yeah.
just
And it's like,
you just let the room sit and make the person feel the discomfort that they've caused and back themselves out of it. Like, I am not giving you a lifeline.
yep.
Here's a
Because
shovel, buddy,
sometimes
dig.
I know, unlike what I'm doing right now, I'm sorry, I just interrupted, but filling the silence sometimes makes it way worse. And just sitting in it is like, yeah, solves some things.
It's so nice. And it's, again, part of this is pushing back again on my like social norm issues, but my thing is like, I always want to meet someone else's energy. So if somebody comes at me sort of aggressively with something, then
Yes.
I tend to like to meet what they're saying at an equal level, because
Yep.
I don't want to escalate it, but I don't want to give people a pass for bad behavior. And my like catchphrase, especially in social settings. Cause you know, if I'm like in my professional role at work, that's not always going to be appropriate. Although sometimes it is if someone's being just rude to just be quiet and then let them
Mm-hmm.
autocorrect. But out in public, I'm like, if you make me uncomfortable, I will return the same level of discomfort to you. I'll just mirror it back. So I had some like old guy at a bar sometime pop off, half joking, but like kind of rudely about like, oh, well, you know how women are. And he said something 2 seconds later, and I was like, well, you know how guys your age are. And I just
Oh
sat
my
and
God, I
stared at
love
him. And
that.
poor God bless Jason. He's sitting next to me and he's like, what are you doing? It's like, they made me uncomfortable. I'm going to make them uncomfortable. I think it's the best way to teach people.
I had to sit back for a second. Um, I, I love that. I do that at work often though. Not with my coworkers, but with clients because you have to match their energy level.
Yes.
It's like someone comes in super bubbly. I'm super empathic too. Not empathic.
No, you're
No.
right.
Yeah, that's right. I'll even notice myself like if they're leaning against the table, I'll lean against the table. If they're standing a certain way, I'm standing a certain way. We're very much like mirroring each other. But when someone comes at me, I agree. Like you have to give it back in a customer service way, but have them understand that if you give me this, you're getting it back. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
And then when there's things
Like
I can't say back, then it's just get quiet and then let them just sit in the tension and just simmer. And
we are very similar.
a good example of me doing this just like in a social setting is Jason and I love to go out to eat. Not no, meh. We like to go get drinks at some of the more expensive restaurants in town because this town's still pretty small and there's some like Pensacola old money. And there's some places that like Pensacola old money eats all the time. And the people watching is just like supreme.
Mm.
So we went to one of these places and we'll just have a drink at the bar because you can watch people and just like, oh my God. So we're sitting there. It's a corner and the corner space is empty. And then it's two wealthy retired people on the end. And then empty seat corner, me, then Jason.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Actually, it may have been Jason and me. Anyhow, we're sitting there. These two people don't even fucking look at us. Like, don't acknowledge our presence. They obviously eat there all the time. They know everybody's names. They're ordering shit off the menu. They walk in, server knows what they want, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for most people in our area and like mine and Jason's income bracket, this would be like a special occasion restaurant to eat at.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, we're just kind of like casually observing this. Well, then there are like some guy friend of theirs comes in who's equally as wealthy, but very friendly and chatty. So, and Jason and I talk to everybody, and that's kind of why we like being at the bar. So we were talking to him, no agenda. He still, within 5 minutes, had name dropped that he was a member at a yacht club, was from a very like expensive suburb of Atlanta, owned a second home and like a waterfront. I mean, dude was like dropping factoids about his income level pretty quickly into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that was an agenda and that's just how he speaks to people, I don't know. But he was very kind and like unassuming. And so we were all chatting. Well, once the other two rich people realized that we were cool peasants, they then tried to like join into the conversation.
Okay.
Weirdly, again, start fact dropping. Oh, we know each other from the yacht club. We did this event. Like, she made some weird comment about, like, I'm the only blonde in my family of Italians. Like,
Ew.
weird image, money based conversation, like, thrown
Yeah.
into things we didn't ask for. Like, Jason and I, as a
Yeah.
principal, don't ask people what they do for a living.
Right.
And just, I don't know. Anyway, so that kind of sets the scene of the energy that was there. And the two on the end just like didn't know how to talk to people that weren't in their like yacht club circle.
Yeah.
And so I was wearing one of my Ho for Show dresses. It's actually supposed to be a high neck and a tie back, but I want my titties out. So I tie it in the front. So it has a high back and then like almost like a cutout So there's like a cutout between, like under my
Yep.
boobs and above my belly button.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I cut the tag out so no one can tell, but
I
it's
love
just
it.
shit like that I enjoy doing. I didn't get a chance to tell them that my cute dress was actually a dress on backwards, and I wish that I would have, that I got for free from my mom. But we were talking, and then, like dinner or drinks were kind of wrapping up, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to be eating here tonight?" And I looked at them, and I was like, "No, we got a reservation somewhere else. Like, we just like to come here for the drinks." And the other place is called Union Public House. We fucking love it there. They have such good food and big portions. And she's like, "Oh, I haven't been there in so long. That place is pretty good though, isn't it? What do you normally get?" And I was like, "My favorite thing is I order the Wild Boar Sloppy Joe because they serve it with those little crispy onions and I can feel like a redneck."
Oh, you didn't. I love this.
And she didn't know what to do. I think they quit talking to us after that.
That is the perfect example of pushing the buttons a little bit, and I freaking love it. I love that you said that.
It's just stuff like that, man. I just love to get in. Like, it's that I love to surprise people, and I love when people think they've put me in a box, and then I love to like poke out of it. I
Yep.
just think it's so much fun. I also say just too much. But those are my examples of what I have of that behavior. It's why in my like alter ego, I'm a stand-up comedian, because I think I would love it. And I think I can't remember which comedians that I follow it was. I just posted something the other day that was a quote from Louis C.K. talking about like the different types of comedy and how part of it is pushing people. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
misquote him, but it's like pushing people out of their comfort zones to basically like force your mind to look at a new perspective, even if it's something
Mm-hmm.
that's really off the wall and horrible, which I loved. And I love that about sort of like poking at people and what they
Yep.
think their expectations are, and in harmless ways, just to kind of be like, stop labeling people, like stop it making
Yep.
assumptions about people and just have fun. Like, life's not fun if you
Yep.
can't fuck around with people. And then I think it's Tom Segura that actually has a bit. Is it him? I thought he loves to make people uncomfortable and show them like weird movies, I think, and like videos, because he just thinks other people's discomfort is so funny. I think it was Louis C.K. that talks about in his stand-ups, he'll intentionally do like the most horrific joke because his fun on
Mm.
stage is how uncomfortable it makes the audience. I was like, I
I like
really
that.
identify with that. And I find myself, I do that at work a little bit. Like, people will just flip off an opinion that they have, and not, I mean, I've done this in every job. So whether someone's like right wing or left wing, like it doesn't matter. Anything that just feels like a run of the mill opinion to have from a certain perspective, I have a disease about flipping off some, like saying something flippant about it that makes them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like, it's so tasty. Okay.
I know. I love that. You have some balls on you, but it depends on the situation. But there are times when I say stuff too, and I love it. It's just like, oh, that felt good.
Because too, sometimes if you laugh, like, because it is like it's in good fun most of the time when I'm doing
Yes.
stuff like that. So if somebody says something like weird to you, I'll just laugh right along with them. Or like a good example was when at my last job, I was in the courtroom waiting for a hearing, and one of the public defenders, well, sorry, interrupting myself. The prequel to this is that normally at work I wear my hair up because I just don't want comments about my hair and my appearance, and it feels more professional and just more like simple. And so
Mm-hmm.
normally in court, especially, I'd throw my hair up in a bun, like tight, and I just hadn't gotten to it yet because the hearing hadn't started, and it was just myself and the attorneys in the courtroom. And one of the defense attorney looks at me and he's like, "Your hair's down. Why do you never wear your hair down?" And I just dead ass looked back at him and I was like, "Because I don't want to have these conversations at work." And then I let it sit for a second and felt him go, "Mm," and then I laughed. because it was
Yep.
funny, because I loved what I was doing. And then I watched the other attorney in the room be like, damn, bro. That was one of my crowning achievements.
That is the perfect one.
Right? Like, again, you said something stupid, I'm gonna say something stupid back. And then we'll all giggle, and then we'll move on with our professional lives.
Exactly.
Little
Oh my gosh.
little bit of, little bit of salt adds flavor to life. Um just call me Salt Bay for social situations. Um
Those are great.
I
I
know.
love that.
I have more examples of weird things that I'm realizing that I do, but I'll save some of them for the next time. But it's just what it really is boiling down to is that I have to find ways to entertain myself because I think I'm lacking some of the social stimulation that I need in life, but I don't know how to get it. Which we've kind of touched on this before, talking about how hard it is to make adult friends in adult life.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes in the midst of some of my behaviors, I'm like, maybe if you just had like one or two more friends or like one or two more hobbies, you wouldn't be so obnoxious.
No. I feel I understand why you are having these thoughts, but A, you're not obnoxious, but B, I also feel like, you talk about like socializing your dog or your child. I feel like I'm sometimes under socialized, but it's so we've talked about how hard it is to make friends as an adult. I am very lucky and grateful to have the friends
I think
that I
what's
do have in
hard
my life.
is
I'm so tired. A, because I'm pregnant, but in general, like with this point in our lives, you you you're not just like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Let's do something. It's like if I'm gonna do something, I have to schedule it out like 2 weeks in advance, put it on my calendar, and then prep, like mentally prep for it, because it's not that it's exhausting to hang out with friends, but just adulting and going from work and then spending energy on clients. It's just, I don't know, it feels like a lot, and it's sad because whenever I do get out with friends, it's very fulfilling, but the act of getting there is tough for me sometimes.
yeah, it's like the mental workup. And
Mm-hmm.
I love new people and I love meeting new people and I want to make new friends. And I thought about this because I've just had a draining couple of weeks that I think a lot of the difficulty behind it now within this career is just how much I feel burnt out from work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think burnout is one of those things that companies keep wanting to talk about, like, how to remember. And it's a term I learned. I may have mentioned this on here, but shout out to Andrew Huberman because he's the one, his podcast is what taught me. But talking about virtue signaling, like these industry, like companies and agencies, like showing you this ideal that they allegedly have, but not actually doing anything that would show that they actually want to cultivate whatever that thing
Yep.
is. And with social workers, I mean, we talk about burnout all the time and how to avoid it. And everyone's like, do breathing exercises, like take a
Mm-hmm.
walk. And it's not that those are wrong, but there's like a very real, just like weariness from
Mm-hmm.
taking on other people's shit all day. And whether that's like in my setting or in your setting, like having to absorb people's anger, no matter what the anger is over,
Mm-hmm.
is so draining. And then by the end of the day, like I just want to come home to what I know is my cocoon of
Mm-hmm.
like good energy, which is with my husband. And we do like to go out. So, I mean, we're extroverts. So, we do stuff, like I said, going out to a bar or just getting out in public and being around normal people. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as like really having the energy to invest in new relationships, it's hard for me. And I don't always have a lot left in the tank to be emotionally present for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
want Jason to be my first priority on that. And then it's like, man, sometimes after after him, it's like I don't have anything left.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have a tank of energy, at least for me. I'm expending it a lot on work and then a little bit on myself, the rest on Kenny, and then other responsibilities. And then by that time, I'm like, I just don't have a lot. So I've noticed recently hanging out with friends, again, when I'm there, I love it. But sometimes well, I'm also an introvert and I don't talk as much sometimes. But I caught myself at dinner just kind of like sitting there and listening. And it was so fun and just nice to listen and not feel like I had to say anything. I was
Mm-hmm.
just there. I was just there in the presence of the people. I was like, this is good. They don't expect me to say much. Like, I don't have to. Like, when you feel like you don't have to be on, that makes a difference for me because then I'm more comfortable. Like, obviously, me and Kenny are super comfortable, so we can just sit there in silence if we wanted to. And I think that's what we need after a long day with being in. Every job has their things, but being such a customer or
Mm-hmm.
client facing job,
That's what it
um,
is.
yeah,
Because
it's
American healthcare
exhausting.
has become a customer service industry, which is a whole soapbox for another day. But
Yep, yep,
it's
yep, yep.
hard. It's hard to be on all the time. And then when you meet somebody new, there's a level of like having to kind of mind your P's and Q's and feel somebody out. And I recognize that I'm hyper vigilant about other people's emotional states. I
Yep.
caught myself doing this at work the other day, doing like a full analysis of this person I was talking to after work in the parking lot. It's like, I just,
Yeah.
but it's hard to do that. So there's people that I like might know casually or, want to just get together for whatever. And it's like, I don't know. And
Hmm.
again, it would be good to get together with them and I'll enjoy it when I get there. But
Hmm.
it's just like making the decision to go out to the gym. It's hard to make the decision to show up.
Yes. And it is hard to, like you said, I think the word is you feel like you have to be on because being on takes energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets not tiresome, but that's where it's harder for me to, exert that
Mm-hmm.
because I've already spent the whole day, the whole week, whatever it is, being on at work.
Yeah.
It's like those memes where it's like, I keep saying like, it's like those memes where you see them have a mask on for work and then they take it off and it's like, when they get home, like it's a, it's, I am not the same person at work as I am talking to you, talking to Kenny, being at home in my own space. Completely different person.
I know. I will never forget the day that someone pointed out to me how much my customer voice changes. And it was way back at Starbucks. I was in the back room and there's like where the back room crosses into the threshold where the customers can see you. So I'm in the back and I'm talking to one of the new people and I'm like, nah, 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 like, look at this dumbass shit. Like, here comes Starbucks with a new milk we have to try to shove in the refrigerator because they milked an almond or whatever is, in style this week. And then I saw a customer coming in the door as I was walking out and immediately turned and was like, hey, good morning. How are you doing? What can I get started for you? She was like,
Yes.
what kind of Jekyll and Hyde shit is this? And
Oh, yeah.
I don't do
Same
it.
thing.
There is a thing to like, in my job where I'm talking to someone that's having a hard time, or if someone talks about a family member passing away, I mean, there's a shift in tone of voice that's genuine. So it's not that I'm
Mm-hmm.
always just like putting on a show, but you're like, you, I hate being fake. So in a job where I'm trying to bring empathy, I'm like genuinely trying to tap into spaces where I care about people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have room left to care about anything else. I have a bubble of like a small group of people that I care about, and it's hard to make more space for that and to invest anywhere else. But it's hard
Right.
because most of my friends don't live local. And, a couple of us that do, I cherish. And I don't, again, at this stage in life, it's not the same. I'm not going to just like text somebody on an afternoon and be like, let's go get drink. Like,
Yeah.
life is different now and that part's fine. But I just sometimes find it hard to care about anything else. And I don't even have always the energy to show up in the way that I want to for people that are currently in my life. And then I find myself making a conscious decision sometimes to say, like, we're not going to pick up the phone right now because we don't have the energy for that. And I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather not talk. I'd rather rid myself of the burden of answering a phone call where I'm just going to not feel it
Mm-hmm.
than to fake it and then potentially be bitchy and feel more drained after
Mm-hmm.
than just be like, I can wait and talk to this person later when I'm here.
Well, you know me and my text situation because sometimes it'll be days. But honestly, if you know me, then you should know that it may be a day, it may be an hour, it may be a minute, but it could be a couple days. I just, for me, and again, Kenny's so much nicer than I am. So he's like, "Have you not responded to her yet? Or have you not responded to whoever?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I'm not, well, first of all, this is me being not cynical is not the right word, but pushing back a little bit. I'll be like, I don't have to fall into anyone's timeline. I do not contest to this social life where people expect me to be on this 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? It's literally sitting right in front of me still as we are talking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to respond within 1 minute. I don't need to respond within an hour. I will respond when I can and when I have the energy to. And so part of that is me being a little snippy, depending on the person, especially work. But other times it's just I don't have it in me to even read the text because I can't think anymore. Like I'm done. You know what I'm saying?
I
Even
know.
for the people that I love. Obviously, I don't text you back sometimes. So,
But I think the difference is too, though, like if somebody were calling, like if someone that I loved was calling me in a crisis,
right.
then that stuff goes away and then it like you kick in. But sometimes for just like the droll, mundane things that people want to be and want to, gossip about or chit chat about,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to engage with some of it. And I know
Yeah.
that this is directly because of being customer facing all day, but
Mm-hmm.
it makes it hard to meet new people because I don't have the energy to be drained by small talk. And
Yes.
I don't mind small talk as in like jokey, funny, goofing off, but I don't want to have like deep, heavy conversations with people, or I don't want to have political conversations with people. I don't. Kayla did another mic drop. I don't want to talk about. I can't take on any more causes to care about. And there's so much in my job that I can't fix for people. And there's so much that I don't have control over. And I think that's also been that's a big key to my exhaustion. So not only am I having to take on other people's stuff all day and then mirror empathy back to them and be supportive, I also am having to contend with this feeling of having no control over the situation and seeing what needs to change and not being able to do it. And that exhausts me. So even the other day when Jason was like, "Oh man, have you heard about cobalt mining with, like it's in iPhones?"
Oh, sorry. Yes. Uh-huh.
I I
Following.
peripherally know what it is and I've heard it, but I was like, I appreciate that you want to share this information and you want to be able to talk to me about it, and I will hear you talk to me about it, but I said I can't listen to it. Like I'm sorry, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I can't have another cause that hurts my heart that I don't have control over and just have to sit here with. There's too many of them. And I don't watch the news. I feel like such a schlub because I don't have the bandwidth. I have room for this many things that I care about. And if I can't fix enough of them, there's no more
Mm-hmm.
room if I can't clear that space out.
You are literally spitting facts right now. And it's funny that we're talking about comedians because I believe it's Dave Chappelle has a skit where he talks about how this generation under us, or basically, I feel like after our generation and below, with all the news and with all social media, it's we have too much to worry about now. He was saying, in my day, um, the Apollo 13 11, 13, 13, right?
I don't remember.
Was a huge thing. Obviously 9/11 was a huge thing. You hear about a shooting, huge thing. Now it's every day, all the time, everywhere. And he was like, the joke was, you don't realize how much we care, and you don't even have the capacity to care anymore because it's so much all the time. And then he related it back to the Care Bears. And he goes, do you remember the Care Bears? And they would do the Care Bear stare. It was funny. Okay, so that was the joke, but it's so true. There's too much. And I also have stopped watching the news. I still am informed, but I can't listen to that. Oh my God, it's just too much doom and gloom.
I can't. In the politics and all of the nonsense, it's like it's
Yeah.
black or white, and really everything
Mm-hmm.
should be gray. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't argue with people, and I don't have any control over like what kind of weird shit they're doing up in Washington. I don't even have control of what my city council is doing in my local city. I can't sit
Yep.
here and I can't do it. I can't. I
Yep.
have a hard enough time taking on what's happening at a micro level. I don't have a space to do it at a macro level. And I already have like one. I have so many soapboxes. I don't even know how I tote any of them around.
I've got a trail behind me too. I feel you. Yeah.
It's so exhausting, and I don't know what the answer is. But you saying that what Dave Chappelle said makes sense because it was a huge deal. It rocked the generation of the boomers when they started showing footage from Vietnam. And now you think about it, I mean, you can go watch beheading videos on YouTube. It's even just I just saw like a 15-second clip of the Nashville shooter, not actively shooting, just entering into a room. It was bone chilling and it has stuck with me. And it was weird because I've watched countless use of force videos from like real life dash cams, body cams, all of that stuff in my last job at work. And maybe it's because when I'm in the work role, like there's just a different wall and compartmentalization that you have. But my coworkers, because social workers want to talk about social justice issues and care about stuff, they keep wanting to have these conversations in the morning. And I'm like, I can't start my day with this shit.
Yeah.
And I've repeatedly said it to them, like, I don't have the bandwidth for any more of it. And I don't know
Yeah.
sometimes if they think I'm just a dick and I don't care, or write me off as, she must be a Republican who loves guns, or, whatever the point of view might be. I'm like, it hurts my heart too much. I can't.
You're just protecting your boundaries for as much as they're pushed already. You got to set some of them.
I know. I'm like, and then like, I need room to even just care about myself. I mean,
I know.
You're right. This is why I love comedians. And we've talked about this. I mean, they're just like the oracles of our time. Yeah. They're all getting out from underneath labels and ownership and able to just say things and not be bought by somebody. And everyone has a bias in their own agenda, and that's fine. We all should, and we shouldn't agree with everyone about everything. But comedy is so therapeutic to me, and laughing, which is why I like to pick at people in public.
And also why you like to push the buttons, because comedians push buttons, but it makes you think and it makes you realize. And I know Tom Segura is great. I love him. You've got your people, and I'm so stuck on Dave Chappelle. I think as Kenny, we just like literally binge him all the time. But he has such a way with his delivery that just gives me the chill sometimes, because it pushes everyone. And then when you think he's pushing one side, and it's so, I don't want to bring up an example because it's kind of harsh, but he has a joke about abortion, I'll just say. And you feel like he's going...
not the only one, because I was just going to say I have an example with a Bill Burr abortion joke that made me piss myself.
But you think he's going one way, and the audience is like clapping and laughing and yeah. And then immediately, so smoothly, he reverts it the other way. And then half the audience is shocked and the other audience is laughing and clapping. And then he ends up in the middle somewhere, and it's just like... it just makes you think. And it's just, you have to have these conversations, or at least like be open to, I don't know. I just love how they can get through nitty gritty, like sticky topics.
I know, I do too. And again, the therapy of laughing. I fell in
Yes.
love with comedy when I was working as an intern with hospice because it was just like day in and day out of death.
Yeah.
I mean, just not stop.
Ugh.
And I have a real appreciation for death, which sounds weird, but I do think that there's something beautiful about it. And I just recently learned that there's death doulas, which I think is amazing.
Yes.
Um, and we're all like, last I checked, none of us are gonna not be like not punch our ticket. Um, but that was when I learned, like, okay, you have to balance out the heaviness in this world or in your job or in your environment or your health situation or whatever is happening with laughter. And I think that laughter and joking and humor, and I'm sure someone has shown this to be true with actual science, creates a flexibility in people and a tolerance for discomfort that makes people more resilient in the long haul.
You're talking about humor.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, what's his name? Andrew Huberman. We're shouting out a lot of people today. We should put these in the show notes. You're welcome, everyone. Not like they'll ever listen
You
to
are going to
this.
get a whole 2 followers from these promotions that are unpaid.
Everything has been non-sponsored, by the way. No, but we will sponsor, or you can sponsor us. I think either him or someone else said something about like when you do laugh and you're experiencing humor, you're kind of subjecting yourself to that you're actually releasing oxytocin, and it's a chemical, and it kind of shifts the way your brain thinks. It's the same thing with waking up in the morning and something bad happens. If you continue down that bad, like, oh, my coffee spilled all over me, what a shitty day this is going to be, it will continue to be shitty. Whereas if you say, wow, I'm an idiot, haha, this is stupid, but let's move on with our day, and then you go down a whole different path. I just feel like there's definitely some brain chemistry, as well as just overall psychology for humor and getting through life.
Yeah, I do too. And I think you just have to poke fun. If you make fun of and make light of stuff that you're afraid of sometimes and just play with some of that, I think it makes life feel less heavy. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, healthcare workers, law enforcement, teachers, I mean, there's some dark humor in some of those fields
Oh, yeah.
that can seem really off-putting to other people that are outside of it. And I would kind of forget that because you and I both have horrid, evil senses of humor. and
As I evil laugh.
and just, are constantly like, see you in hell. But man, not everyone, it doesn't have to be everyone's bag, but I can't get on board with people that can't at least understand the mechanism and why it's needed.
Yeah.
Like especially
Agreed.
after the pandy. I mean, some of the stuff that nurses will say, or ER nurses, I've heard they're wild. But, it's like you have to. You can't sit there and absorb. It would crush you.
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to make jokes about, I don't know, at my last job, if somebody was just like the worst, it's like, you knock on the door and they don't answer, and it's like, oh, maybe they're dead. Like, or my Airbnb guest that I had the other day that didn't check out on time. And I was like, if he killed himself, I dibs on his car.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Kailey? Yeah.
And he didn't kill himself. He was fine. He was just apparently didn't feel like checking out on time. So whatever. But I'm so thankful for friendships that let me be myself, and for friendships that understand that really and truly, if someone killed themselves in my Airbnb room, I would be devastated.
Well, yeah, yeah, obviously.
But like, not everybody.
But some people don't know
Right.
that. Yeah.
There's so many people who like refuse to give people the benefit of the doubt, would immediately be offended. How dare you make a joke about suicide? This many people die every day. It's like, I know all that information, but I can't walk around in a world where I think about that all the time. So I might make a joke that makes people feel a little bit uncomfortable because it relieves a little bit of the tension for me, and the people that
Yeah.
love me know that, and then we could all move on with our lives.
1000%. I agree.
On that note, I think we should transition to follow-ups and put that soapbox to bed.
We were on that for a long time, but I loved it, and I think it's very
I
important.
think it does perfectly summarize what you and I have kind of been dancing around or talking about just on our personal time of being tired and feeling worn out. And it makes me feel like less of a pussy knowing that like it's okay to be tired because there's exhausting things happening. I mean, you're growing a human, so biologically, never mind the mental health side of it and just life, but like you are
Yeah,
biologically having, your nutrients shared with a
yeah,
little human creature. So,
yeah.
anyway, thank you.
Life's just life, man.
Thanks for unpacking that with me.
Yeah, I loved
I
it.
felt like a schlub the last couple, just like a crusty, shriveled, like imagine like a I'm trying to imagine like SpongeBob, the SpongeBob when Squidward like one day shriveled up, I think because he was sick or something. He just like, and then
Oh, I know what
his
you mean. It's
nose
like
was like,
dehydrated.
yes, he just like crumpled into. That's how I felt for the last couple weeks, and I really did a deep dive with myself of what is happening, and I think that identified it, and it feels good.
Which is funny because SpongeBob is a sponge in the ocean. Okay, anyway.
Oh, he shriveled one time too. I think he got stuck in the sun, and he was like, ugh.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
Either one
Okay,
of
that
those
makes
is
more
the
sense.
perfect illustration. All right. So
You said follow.
follow up. I don't have a ton of follow
No.
ups. I need to figure out if anyone's listening to this and is smart with the computers. I need to figure out how to like share my screen or like insert another video for the viewers to watch what we're watching. Because there have been some funny responses on TikTok to our airplane ashtray discussion. Are you frozen? You were listening so astutely that I thought you were frozen.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll be very transparent with the people. I was thinking about, did I edit that voicemail from what's his face into our last
I
video?
did.
Oh, good job.
Thank you.
I was like, I don't remember doing that, but because you said screen sharing, I was like, oh, did I forget to do that? Okay,
Nope, you're good.
sorry.
Kayla's
Keep going.
back. No, the TikTokians sounded off about our plane
Oh,
ashtray.
what did they say?
Well, one person told me that it's not uncommon for planes that were built like in the 80s to still be in function today. So that's normal. The lifespan of a
Interesting.
plane can be like 50 or 60 years, according to a guy on the internet. So, I mean, someone else can fact check this and blame it on him. But that's what he was saying. And I thought that makes sense because it would have been legal to smoke back in the day. Someone hypothesized that maybe planes are put into production, like mass produced, and some countries still allow smoking on them. Although I still find this hard to believe because I don't think that there would be a plane needed that large for an in country flight, unless you're talking about like Russia or China, where it's only a
Right.
domestic foreign flight. Anyway, that was
Yeah.
one person's idea. Multiple people said that what you were saying, they put it there because they assume people are going to break the rules and they at least want them to dispose of it properly. Someone told me that you couldn't put it down the toilet, but I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to put it down the toilet.
Maybe it's just like an RV or septic where anything but pee, poop, and toilet paper should not be going down there for the system.
Well, I get that it shouldn't, but if I peed
Well,
in the
yeah.
toilet and put my cigarette in the toilet, it would still go down the drain. He made it sound like the toilet wouldn't accept it. Like, try again.
Oh my god, I almost just peed in my pants when he said that.
Like the little flap on the toilet, like
yeah, it doesn't
flicks
move.
it up.
No entry allowed.
Yeah, that seemed like a bullshit response, but
that's funny.
That's fine. So that was kind of fun. Again, y'all, we love the interactions. One lady had used the hashtag Nonsexual Soulmates like forever ago. And this like term wasn't very readily available on the internets because we were able to do all of social media and website, all that shit, email address. Anyway, she had used that hashtag on TikTok, and it was just her and one other person in the life of TikTok. And so I like commented on her post, and I was like, that's the name of our podcast. Anyway, she said she's had her best friend / non-sexual soulmate for a huge number of years, and they do everything together. And that was cute.
That's super cute.
I know, I loved it. I like that non-sexual soulmate sounds like an adult version of saying best friend.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about how saying like someone's your best friend or sounds really fucking dweeby.
I know. And it's, yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
It's how I felt about saying fiance after about 2 weeks of being engaged.
I know. Because it's like, he's my fiance.
Yeah, it just sounded...
it's just weird. I'm not trying to rub it in. that's what he is right now. Yeah. Like, he's about to be my husband.
It felt weird. It was better than saying boyfriend, but...
There's
something about that word. It's like, he's my fiance. I don't know. It just felt weird. This is my Michael Kors purse. That's how it felt.
Yes.
And then Auntie Lynn, in response to our left leg, right leg conversation.
Oh, yeah.
She put, by the way, left leg first, left pant leg first, right contact first, and right shoe first. Flip-flops or whatever happens. Didn't know I had a routine until I thought about it.
Oh my God, I love that. Flip-flops, anything goes, I feel that. It's interesting she puts her pants on left first and shoes on right first.
And her
I wonder what she does with socks.
Like her hands and feet like her right foot. Or like the right. And her leg likes it left.
But that's so interesting. You know what was funny? I put my earrings in today and I noticed that I put my left one in first. And I always put my left one in first, my earrings.
Wait, but for you end on the right because the right's the best.
The right's the best. Yeah, exactly.
You end on the right because the right's right.
So my earrings go along with my my left right thing. It's just the Q-tip one was the last one from a couple episodes ago. The Q-tip. I don't have an ear specification. I honestly think it's dependent on which one feels like there's too much water in it after I get out of the shower. I just do that one first. Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Or which one feels like cloggy.
Yeah. Oh, good times.
I know.
I love that. Thanks, Auntie Lynn, for the feedback.
I know. I love all the feedback.
Sorry if anyone's listening to me breathe.
Oh, you guys just heard
my lungs are getting
a
squished.
Classic Kayla breath.
I forgot I haven't done that on the mic yet until just now.
I have described the Sue sneeze. That's the Kayla breath. I can't do it quite right, but it's like... It's like a multi-step release.
We'll run it back and put on the social medias. I think I don't breathe well enough, and then I have to catch a big breath all at once, and that's why I make those noises.
It's the stutter step to your side that I've always wondered
I don't know
about.
why I do that. I don't know why I do it.
I mean, I think there's certain type of breath work that does. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're intuitively doing something your blood pressure needs.
Hey, you never know. Maybe I'll come up with another theory about this.
Ooh, if we could have a theory on your breath, that would be fantastic.
Oh man.
All right. Well, thank you guys again for joining us, for sticking it out. Last week's episode wasn't quite as gnarly as some of the ones before that had been. We had a run. Oh wait, no, last week's was. It was the one before that they got a break with the pets. But last week with the bidets was probably, and the fingernails and the buttholes was probably not an easy one either.
Hopefully this one wasn't too bad because we talked about periods for a hot second and then we kind of moved on.
Yeah, right? We had a little more of an honest, everything's been honest. Maybe a little bit more of a vulnerable discussion this time. But
yes.
Next week, join us. Our topics aren't set in stone, but we will be diving into when does long hair become religious? And Kayla will definitely bring us a new theory. This time it's going to be about hair straighteners. So starting off with some hair theories for the men out there. I promise we won't stay there for super long, but as we've said in the past, you all know women, so just shut the fuck up and educate yourselves or go listen to something else.
I'm so excited. I love it. Okay, pregnant ladies gotta pee.
All right, non-pregnant lady also has to pee. All right. Well, I love you, my friend.
Love you too. Love you.
Okay, love you.
Bye.
Bye.